What is the most out-of-touch thing you have ever heard? And how did you respond to it? When I was interning at a museum early in my career, my husband and I were house hunting and put an offer on our home. One of the interns I worked with came from a very rich family, think old money oil baron type. He didn't have to work, he just enjoyed learning history and traveling around to different internships for fun. He asked me what steps I needed to take to buy the house, and I mentioned our mortgage paperwork. He sneered and looked at me like I was the dumbest person alive and said, "Don't mess with a mortgage, just buy it outright. It will save you money and interest." Okay dude, as a 25-year-old supporting myself, I am just going to pull $400,000 out of my ass. A friend worked at the Better Business Bureau. After COVID, the management of her office sent everyone a survey asking everyone if they'd like the option to continue working from home. The management then sent a message saying the results of the survey were in and that 90% of employees said they wanted to keep working from home. The management then sent an announcement that no one could work from home for any reason. They didn't mention why. The head manager of their office then sent everyone a farewell notice that she was moving across the country to be closer to her relatives, but not to worry because she'd be able to remain their manager by working from home full-time. Many years ago, I was living in Philadelphia. I had a very nice colleague at the office, a young woman from a very privileged family. She lived all her life downtown, at least when she wasn't summering in Bar Harbor or spending weekends at their place in Bryn Mawr. One weekend, we were going to meet for lunch. We spoke on the phone and I said I'd see her soon. I was out in West Philadelphia, so I grabbed the subway and got off a block from her apartment. "You got here so quickly." "Yes. I took the subway." "Now, don't tease me, there's no subway here. We're not in New York." I had to walk her over one block, show her the stop, and even go down to the ticket level at the subway one block from the place she lived for 30 years. I probably could have just told her I'd teleported. Someone I shared a house with in college, who was either not yet or barely at 21, complained about her peer not being educated in wine, that there is no excuse. I asked her what she was up to once. She was flipping through Vogue and she answered, "Shopping," so I guess she was rich. My mom's ex-BF was making jokes about some of the physical things my mother's body deals with after having 4 natural births, so I said, "Well yeah, she has had 4 kids." His, "I can't stress enough that he's male," response was, "Well, I've had 2 kids and I don't have any problems." Well Bob, it's not really the same thing. This MF replies, "How would you know, you don't have any kids?" Reddit, I had no response to this. I was a teacher making $35,000 before taxes, and one of my students' parents was a stay-at-home wife whose husband made over $1 million a year as an energy company's CEO. She came in one afternoon and told me about how stressed she was over renovating their home's 3,000 SF basement, a basement that was 3x as large as my entire home. In my effort to connect with her, I told her I was so sorry and that I was also dealing with some stress, having to replace all the exterior plumbing of my house. I added that I was grateful that my tax return would cover most of it. Her response, "Oh honey, be glad you even get a tax return. We haven't gotten anything back for 20 years." All I could say was, "Well, that's one way to look at it." My coworker, fresh out of school, was really confused why so many people took public transportation to commute into the city. Turns out her parents paid for a personal driver for her and that's how she got to work and back. Not an Uber, a car service. She had no idea what it cost, probably never thought about it, just figured everyone else preferred the subway bus to having a personal driver. At an old job, I had a breakdown because I had not been paid in 6 weeks and literally was unable to eat and was walking to work because I could not afford gas. boss found me crying and told me I was being petty for wanting my money and asked me, "Why don't you just live off of your savings?" I was a 21-year-old recent college grad who wasn't getting my paychecks. What savings? I was in a local sub shop waiting for my order. A guy and his I assume girlfriend come in and start reading the menu. The cashier asked what they wanted. Girlfriend: "Yeah, what's a portobello mushroom burger?" Cashier: "Oh. Well, a portobello is like an extra large mushroom roughly the size of a burger patty." Girlfriend: "So, portobello means mushroom? And your sign says portobello mushroom? Mushroom burger? That's redundant. I won't eat here." She literally stormed out. The cashier, who I was friendly with, just burst out laughing and said to the guy something along the lines of, "WTF was that?" Boyfriend: "I don't fucking know, man. She gets like this. I just wanted a damn meatball sub." Then proceeds to sigh and walk out with his girlfriend. I work in a pet store with a grooming salon. Our groomer committed suicide and it was fucking awful. Awful. We had to ring all her bookings and cancel them and tell clients that she died. Awful. One day a woman came in and asked if she could leave some flyers for her counseling services. I politely took them with the intention of discreetly binning them. She then proceeded to ask if she could book her dog in for a groom, and I had to tell her that she couldn't as the groomer had passed away. She responded, "Well, that's awfully inconvenient for me." I pulled the bin out from under the register and slid her flyer straight into the bin while staring her down. I had no words, just stabby eyes. I once wanted to gift a friend a gig ticket. She was a young mom at the time and she didn't have any spare cash to spend on herself or to go out and do anything fun. She was very hesitant to take it and it was 100% my idea. My other friend, who was in her 30s at the time: "I think she's manipulating you. I just don't believe she can't afford a ticket. I mean, there's always money." This woman had never lived away from her parents and was from a relatively wealthy background. She also said, "People who haven't got money really only have themselves to blame for not managing their finances better." Had to have a chat with her about how not everyone comes from the same background and some people go to bed hungry daily. I bought my first condo, 1 bedroom, pretty small, in a city in my early 30s. My uncle made a comment about how he bought his first place, a house, with multiple bedrooms and bathrooms. A year after he graduated college, and how mind-blowing he found it that my generation was so behind compared to his. Ridiculous enough when you consider inflation plus the average salary at the time, 1982 versus 2022, but even more ridiculous once my grandma told me that she and my grandfather gifted him the money for the down payment. My in-law grandparents, when we were negotiating to buy our house. They are retired and her grandfather was a New York lawyer. GP, they are asking 400? Just offer them 200k cash, they'll take it. We informed them we don't have 200k in cash. My boss's wife is the child of a millionaire who married an heir to the throne of a multi-million-dollar-a-year organization where I was working for $10 an hour. You, where are you planning on taking your honeymoon when you get married? I don't know, a week on the beach or maybe a quiet cabin in the mountains. PFFF. No one will ever marry you if you refuse to take them to Hawaii for a honeymoon. A potential client talking about their work in an equatorial country. We're just about at the point where we can start charging the locals for water, which is very exciting. I declined the job. I used to work in a QA department with 2 teams, each 7 people. At this company, It was heavily encouraged to work through lunch. You'd be docked an hour pay even as a salaried employee if you left, so we did. This was among other insanely overbearing rules. Anyway, one day, investors are visiting to check out our company. Our HR is giving them a tour. This happens to be during our lunch. When giving his speech about the lab, in front of all of us, he goes, "While we're out for lunch sitting down at a restaurant, enjoying our meals, these guys are in here testing 24/7. I was literally in shock. My coworker and I just stared at each other in horror. I was visiting my aunt. She and her husband both had very good jobs. She kept her bills pinned to a bulletin board so she would remember to pay them. I says to her, "Auntie, your car payments alone are more than we make in an entire month and we are supporting 2 kids on it." She looked at me stunned with her mouth open. "How do you kids live? You it." It's probably not the most out-of-touch thing, but definitely the most recent. It's some politician that said Taylor Swift was only with Travis Kelce because of his money. Lol. I'm a deaf teacher and college professor with 5 college degrees. I've owned my house for 20 years and my neighbor still lives next door to me. He sees me leaving for work every morning as well as arriving home. I'm dressed work casual and I always have a work bag along with a lunch container. 20 years of this. He's seen the work I've done to my house, dollar, as well as the vehicles I've purchased over the years, plus supporting a family and 3 dogs. As recently as last month, he says to me, "How is it possible that deaf people like you work?"